everyone, welcome back. So last week I had put out the challenge to say yes to something or invite, and I am happy to report that there have been several invites and several yeses. I had a mom reach out and tell me that her husband invited her to start playing drums to relieve stress, and guess what? She found her rhythm. Love it. And I had a teacher tell me that a fellow colleague invited her to a new program that would not only make our country better, but other people's countries better. Awesome. And then lastly, I had a student reach out and tell me that a friend invited her to go hiking, and she never saw herself as a hiker, but she thought, well, I'm going to say yes and see what happens. And you know what happened? She was overwhelmed with the new landscape that she got to see and all the different trails that they were out there to explore, and just how good she felt by being out there and walking and talking with a friend. And actually, I had another invite. My son invited me to go sledding. And in return, I invited him to try snowshoeing. Now, interesting about this new snowshoeing and just a new activity in general, I think anytime that we try something new, naturally there's probably some resistance, right? Whether that comes in the form of doubt, where we don't feel like we know how to do it right, or hesitation, like, I don't know if this is really for me. Well, all of those things occurred in my son's snowshoeing experience. And today's topic is, how do we fail forward so that failing can actually work for us instead of against us? My goal then today is to help you see failure through a new lens and to really recognize what the benefits of failure are. And so I'm going to leave you with 3 C's and a bonus C by the end of this video so that you know just how good failure can feel and why it's important for all of us to talk about it and actually get out there and do it. So back to the story of my son with the snowshoe. So as he was doing this, he had some moments where he got really frustrated, right? And if you think about any of your failures, my sense is that frustration typically follows that, right? And he was no different. So he, had the courage to put it on and to get started. But then once it wasn't working how he thought it needed to, that's when the frustration set in. And I remember him specifically saying to me, "But Mom, this isn't how a shoe is supposed to be. You told me it was a shoe and it doesn't fit like a shoe." And now I pause and say, how often do we do that to ourselves in our life, in situations that we are in, that we feel are a failure to us or that we are failing at? It's because we think that it is not looking how it's supposed to, or that it's supposed to be different. And instead of embracing it for how it is designed and trusting the process of learning how to be comfortable with something different, we sometimes resist it. And I think the first thing in failing forward is learning how to lean into it instead of feeling like we're falling behind. And right now, especially with school and schedules at home, there's this piece of this isn't how it's supposed to be. And I get that. I completely validate that. I have 3 kids that were home on Monday when they were all supposed to be in school, and we were still doing online learning. And then it was supposed to be a snow day where we were off. And so there was just all these directions I was feeling pulled in. But ultimately, I needed to pause and say, you know what? I'm not behind, because whose idea am I following? I'm the one that gets to define what success looks like. And I would suggest that the first time we are trying to shift from failure into moving forward, we really just have to look at our agenda and this idea of, what do we think this shoe or this day or this time frame is supposed to be? And then I invite you to change it around a little bit. What is a shift that you can make within your schedule or your day to set you up for more success? And so as Avery was trying to maneuver this new shoe, he realized that he had to do things a little differently, because walking how he normally walks without heel support was not going to get him to where he wanted to be. And so he went back to the drawing board and he was able to try again. And then he realized he forgot his gloves. And so then he got frustrated again because he was cold and he wanted to give up. And then the magical thing happened. He decided to do it again. And this time he picked a little bit warmer of a day. He already had some past experience. And at the end, I will show you what happened. But the very cool part about this was that he had to adjust his expectations to what was instead of what he thought needed to be. And he was able to stay present with it instead of push against it. And that's really the invitation here is, when you can take the pressure off yourself of feeling like there's supposed to be a certain way or a time frame, and instead you can praise the progress that you've made. And so the cool thing is there was some progress, right? Like each time he went out, he was able to maneuver and get a little bit more comfortable with his footing. And the next thing you know, just like Easton a few weeks ago, he was able to find his stride. And so today's 3 C's of the benefit of why failure can move us forward is this. Failure gives us contrast. And in that contrast, we get clarity. And so clarity is so powerful. And so when we are trying to do anything new, I think we have to recognize what is the contrast that's coming up for us. So that basically means what do we want less of so we can focus on what we want more of. So the number 1 C is clarity, and that comes through contrast. The second C is that failure builds capacity. Capacity is the ability to do more and think more about different solutions or ways of doing things. And, we had a lot of snow this week, and with snow comes delays. And I think that couldn't be truer for how it feels sometimes when we are failing. Like we feel like we are delayed or we're behind, right? There's that word again, that behind feels like a barrier. And instead of seeing the delay as a barrier, what if the delay was just a detour to give us a pause to do something different? And so in this snow day week that we are having, what were the delays and what did it build capacity for? We actually got to go outside and sled and play and build and really just kind of take a pause from that everyday structure and then re-navigate that, right? And then the last C was really compassion. When we have the ability to fall down and fail and humble ourselves, we get to relate to people so much better because that is the human experience, right? We all fall down, we all fail, but the goal really is to fail forward. And when we do those things, when we fail forward and we don't give up, we get the 4th C, and that is confidence. And did you know that confidence is not something that anybody else can give you? It is absolutely something that is earned. And so if you take the challenge to fail forward, I promise you, you will come out a more confident, clear, compassionate person that has the capacity to take on what this world is handing us right now. And so my challenge for you is to just see your failures as an opportunity to feel lucky instead of frustrated because you are gaining experience. As I close this video, I'm going to share with you Avery's experience. And my wish for you this week is fail forward and feel great doing it because you are moving in the right direction. See you next week. Hey Aves, what did you learn new this week?
That I can snowshoe.
And was it easy or hard at first?
It was pretty hard at first.
Why didn't you give up?
Well, I knew I would get it someday.
So you kept trying? How did you turn your frustrations into feeling good?
Well, because I just didn't want to quit because my dad says never quit.
And by not quitting, how do you feel now that you can do it?
Pretty good.
Well, I'm really proud of you. Thanks for sharing with us and not giving up. Look at him go. He turned his failure into literally moving forward. Way to go, Aves. I'm so proud of you, buddy.